Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at our first B650 board on the channel. This is the ASUS TUF Gaming B650 Plus Wi-Fi. Main benefit of B650 is you save a lot of money over buying an X670 board. If you're the kind of person that does plug and play with your components and doesn't do any tinkering, then it is a good way to save some money as you're not going to be paying for things that you're not going to use. So let's open up this one. We'll run you through some more specs as we go through. This uses DDR5 and it is a little bit expensive still at the time of recording, but hopefully that shall come down as we are seeing more brands coming out with DDR5. So in this little pocket here, we've got our Wi-Fi antennas. Not actually magnetic, which is a little bit surprising, but nevertheless that is Wi-Fi 6, and you have got 2.5 gig LAN on there as well if you want to go wide. Let's see what else we've got at the bottom. Of course, we've got an instruction manual. Some certificate reliability. The TUF series is more like they're kind of military themed. Some stickers, something about web storage, and a driver's disc. Can we please get rid of CDs? We've got some single-sided M.2 pads as well as a couple of extra screws and some SATA cables, one of which is right angled. And there we have it. So the TUF series is ASUS, more kind of military themed like I said, but there is a little bit of a splash of yellow every now and again. I did a build with a TUF Gaming motherboard recently, the 5800X3D build that's on the channel, and that yellow actually blends in quite well. It doesn't stand out, so although you can see it quite prominently, once you've got it in a case it blends in a little bit better and isn't quite so prominent. Brushed aluminum or aluminium for the chokes and MOSFETs. It's going to be really nicely cooled. Obviously we've got our AM5 socket. This is actually the first time I've opened an AM5 socket, believe it or not. I'm a little bit behind with the builds for AM5. Then we have the standard brackets as well for AM5, AM4. One big difference from AM4 to AM5 is the back plate's actually screwed onto the motherboard. I would often find myself losing and trying to wiggle the back plate on when you're trying to install a cooler. So to have it not go anywhere once you're taking off those clips is going to be quite handy. On the top left we've got an 8+4 pin for EPS power. We've got an AIO pump header at the very top of the board. There's also two extra additional 4 pins just below. There's two 5-volt addressable headers on the top right hand corner. And it's actually nice that they've included more headers because the last board I looked at literally had one 5-volt on an X570 board. Like I said, that yellow will blend in with the case and things when it's installed, so it is nice to see that there are more headers, as a lot of people do like RGB, so it's nice that they've included those on this one. On the right hand side we've got a 24-pin connector, of course. We've got a USB 3 connector. This is USB 3.2 Gen 1. There's an internal Type-C connector on there as well. There's also another fan header, so that brings us up to 4. There's also another one to the left-hand side of the M.2 slot, so that's our 5th. And then we've got 2 more along the bottom as well, so channel 3 and 4, so that brings us up to 7 total 4-pin PWM on this board. On the right angle we have got 4 SATA ports. You generally see 6, so these are going down in numbers now, but M.2 capacities and prices are so cheap now that you kind of understand why you're seeing less of these. On the bottom we have got all our front panel connectors. There's 2 USB 2 headers, so great if you're using anything like a Corsair Commander. A lot of Razer products use the USB 2 headers to control. We've got an additional 5-volt addressable, so there's a total of 3 addressable RGB headers on this board. And then there's a standard 12-volt RGB on there as well. So going back up to the top of the board, we've got our DIMM slots. This will support up to 128 gigabytes of 6400 mega transfers per second DDR5. And that has got Expo support as well. Obviously you can go higher than that if you want to do a manual overclock. So we've got our PCI slot, that will be Gen 4. Then we've got some additional slots below. There are a couple of PCI 1X slots, so great for like capture cards and things like that. We have got a peel on this passive heatsink. Oh, some nice matte black underneath as well. Definitely worth peeling that one. Let's look at our PCI slots. Our top one is a Gen 5 supported drive. We've got a nice bit of aluminium for acting as a heatsink. Thermal pad on one side. Then we have got a ASUS quick release for the drive underneath. Nice solid piece of plastic on there as well. So this will support up to an 80mm drive. We have got other ones that we'll look at further down. We've got an additional 2 slots. We can do up to 110mm in the left hand one, and then an additional 80mm in the right. These are Gen 4 slots. So up to a total of 3 M.2s on this board. It's nice that you can actually add a 110 as well, just on the odd chance that you might need it. And then again, nice bit of machined aluminium to act as a heatsink with 2 thermal pads. I like the fact that there's a hole in that heatsink as well, so makes getting to the screw for the standoff a little bit easier. Don't have to take it off. Okay, so last but not least, let's look at the rear I/O. We have got another peel. Got a display port and HDMI out. AM5 does now support onboard graphics as well, so that's a nice little thing. Great for troubleshooting as well. We've got two 10 gig USB-A ports. These are USB 3.2 Gen 2. There's also a 20 gigabit USB-C, so USB 3.2 Gen 2x2. Hate these name conventions. There's also some USB 2 headers. You've got your 2.5 gig LAN, also your Wi-Fi antennas, some basic audio, and also a BIOS flash button that is always nice to see. Currently, this board sells for £238 on scan, and it's actually nice to see some more relatively affordable boards coming out of the market, especially for AM5, considering you can only use DDR5, no options for DDR4, which is, you know, super cheap now. So it will be hopefully getting even more cheaper when we get some more DDR5 to market. But for now, anyway, things are looking up for affordable builds. So I'm going to be using the 7600X, which is an overclocking supported processor, but with a non-overclocking board. It does look like we're going to get some non-X CPUs soon though, so that will save you some money. And then we'll also pair this with the 6750 XT that Scan have also kindly sent over for me to use in the build. And this is one of their hot sellers, and there is a dedicated video on the channel if you want to check that out. So I think those three components all in the TUF case will make a nice little build, so get subscribed and ding the bell if you haven't already so you don't miss that. I'll add all the relevant links and things in the description box below if there's anything you want to pick up. Big thank you to ASUS for sending out the board for me to look at. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.